Hello everybody and welcome to G2 City. I'm Ben, I'm one of the site leaders here, and we can't meet physically, but that doesn't mean we can't still be church together and share with a needy world the love of Jesus. Today we're going to be looking at the road. We are on day 137 of the quarantine, and I am starting to feel like I'd like to go outside more now, really. But that's all right. A lot of us are working from home or on furlough. Some of us are key workers and teachers and nurses in the community still going in. And a lot of you are students doing dissertations and preparing for exams in less than ideal circumstances. So just we're praying for you, thinking about you. It's great to see the wonderful positive vibes out on Instagram and the stuff with Gather and the worship. I think the reality is if we're gonna stay emotionally healthy throughout this, then a lot of it's going to be to do with how we connect well with each other in a socially isolated way, but how we keep on building community and relationship and fostering our relationship with Jesus as well through being accountable to each other about how we're doing and actually using this as an opportunity to see our faith as a community rise and grow now more than ever. I think am I seeing that people need Jesus in their lives, and I know some of you are struggling as well with physical health and also with some of your loved ones who are unwell, and we've got you in mind too, and we miss you all. But let's keep building community and relationship together. I want to see G2 City actually grow stronger throughout this, in spite of all the difficulty and all the hurt and the pain that we are going through. We want to see our church and the kingdom flourish and emerge from this. Yes, with probably a lot of things to work through, but as well a lot of things that will have gone well. So keep connected, stay connected with us, connect with us online, and we'd love to keep seeing you. And when you're struggling, drop us a message. Don't deal with this alone, even if you are isolated. So today we'll be looking at the final part of our series, Ancient Ways, where we've been discovering different aspects of Celtic spirituality, looking at the cave, which is particularly relevant to all of us right now, and then also looking at the table, how Adam was talking last week about how much we need family and how actually being invited into Jesus' family is one of the most powerful ways of living. And now we're going on to the most ironic of the themes in this series, the road. So your road may be slightly restricted at the moment. Your government mandated walk, and your and maybe it's the virtual road. And for some of you who are actually still going into hospitals and schools, it is the real road. But what we'll be looking at is how Jesus uses the road, and how road is a key feature of our lives, and actually now we might be slightly starved of travel and road, but actually it just goes to show how significant it is. And what we're going to be looking at is how our mission and sharing the gospel, inviting people into the family of God, is a lot about how we use the road. And so for that, we're going to be looking at the road to Emmaus, which is in Luke chapter 24. So get out your Bibles. The road to Emmaus. Now, that same day, I'll be honest, this is one of those passages of the Bible where actually it really needs some context, because a story starting now that same day suggests there might be something happened before that's relevant. So, hold up. That same day is the day that Jesus has appeared to Mary and Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James. He's died. shortly before, and then very in the morning, the women are preparing the tomb, but they're taking spices to prepare the tomb, and they find it empty. They do not find the body of Jesus, but they find him. And so they go and tell the disciples, and the disciples do not believe them. So the disciples are kind of, it says, but they did not believe the women. This is just beforehand. But they did not believe the women because their words seemed to them like nonsense. Just pausing there, how often there have been times in my life where I've thought what someone was saying was nonsense and it turned out to be life-transforming truth. So these disciples are now on the way home. They are, not only are they confused, they're scared. All that they've been experiencing over the past 3 years with Jesus, I think, is starting to seem in some way meaningless. It's starting to seem like maybe it wasn't true. Maybe all the stuff that they'd gone through, all the incredible things that they experienced, the loaves and the fishes, the miracles, the stories, the power, the love, all the things they thought heralded the new dawn for their nation under oppression, are seeming like were just fabrications, just smoke and mirrors. They're in a situation where not only has their leader Jesus died, but as well, it seems like the whole of their city are scoffing at them. It seems like a time when actually they need to just hide, because they're potentially in danger for their lives. If Jesus has been taken away, they don't feel safe anymore. So they're fleeing home, and I think not too cheesy to say that there's a lot of people fleeing home at the moment, and have been over the last few weeks, going to a place where they feel like maybe they can get some certainty back in a world that seems like the normal has disappeared, and goodness and hope have been put on hold. So they're on that road home. Verse 13. Now that same day, 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. Before we go on, I want to just dwell on that little verse. Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. How often in the different roads we've gone on in our lives, the different places we've travelled, the different places we've made home, in where we've moved away from somewhere and somewhere next, and we've been going out about our lives, constantly chasing the next thing and the next thing, and looking for something to satisfy, building different things, talking and making relationships and ending relationships and going through all the different things that life affords us on the road, and yet not recognizing that Jesus has been walking with us the whole time. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened in these days?" "What things?" he asked. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what is more, it is the 3rd day since all this took place. In addition, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning but didn't find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see Jesus." He said to them, "How foolish you are, and how slow to believe all the prophets have spoken. Did the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory?" And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, they explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. Jesus, at this point, has not shared that it is him standing with them. He's listened to them. And I think that's one of the fundamental things that we need to learn about the road. The road is more about us listening and us learning than us telling. When we look at the road, which is the mission of our lives, which is the way we will continue walking through from place to place, meeting people and meeting new people, doing new things throughout this road of our lives, how much are we choosing to speak and how much are we choosing to listen? In this place, Jesus has the most important thing to say, and yet he listens to the story of these men. When it comes to mission, start not with your story, but with theirs. Listen. And we often talk about how hard it is to share our faith with other people. And sometimes it can feel like, oh, it's weird, or like, I don't know what they're going to think. I remember when I was in first year of uni, I remember talking to a friend of mine, and I just plucked up the courage to tell him that I was a Christian, and he thought it was so strange. And I remember him talking about how I was like, but what do you think about, I think his first question was, what do you think about the Apocrypha? I didn't even know what the Apocrypha was. Still don't really. And I was just like, oh my word, that was not the first question I thought was going to get asked when I told him I was a Christian. To be honest, I just thought he was going to ask why. But no, he actually asked me a factual question. It feels so hard because you don't know how people are going to respond. But I think that what Jesus gives us as a principle here is, don't be the first to speak. Listen first to their story before you share yours. And then what Jesus does is he doesn't go even into straight away to who he is. He goes into talking about the story of God written over the lives of these men already. Your friends, your family who do not know Jesus, the people that you meet on the road, they are already in the story of God. It's a story written over their lives before they were born, and will still be written after they've died. This is a story over all of us. It's a story of God's redemption of all creation that we are invited to partner within. And Jesus says, how foolish you are, how slow to believe all the prophets that have spoken. How slow to believe all that the prophets have spoken. And he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. He tells them their story. These are Jews. He is telling them their story of their nation. When you've listened to someone on the road, what story is it that you tell them? How much do you call out the story that's been written over their lives where Jesus has already been working within them? Where in their pain, in their joys, he's already been there, writing his truth into their very being. Verse 28. As they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued as if he was going further. Continued on as if he was going further. I'll see you later, guys. But they urged him strongly, stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over. So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were open, and they recognized him. But he disappeared from their sight. They asked each other, were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us? They got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. The table is right in the middle of the road, and that's where Jesus reveals himself to them. Not by telling them, this is who I am, this is the truth that you should know, but by breaking the bread and showing them around the table with family who he really is. The road bookends the table. The road is the route into the table and the road out of it. What is the road in your life? Who is on it with you? How are you listening to their stories? How are you sharing the story of God that's already written over their lives? And then, without even speaking, how are you showing them that you are a follower of Jesus? How does your care, how does your love, how does the truth of who you are emanate through without a word. So much mission looks like it should be finding people on the road and preaching at them. But Jesus gives us a different model of this. He finds the two men on the road, lost, just heading home for some kind of safety and security in a bleak and uncertain, dangerous and confusing time. And he listens to them. And he speaks goodness over them. And he lets them lead the way. So together, G2 City, as we are on lockdown, as we are in our own uncertain and bleak time, how are we listening to each other? How are we loving each other? How are we continually speaking the truth and glory of the redemption of creation that God is writing all over our lives? How are we feeding on it? Are you reading the Bible still every day? Are you soaking yourself in that story so when the time comes, you can bless your friends and family with it? I want us to be known as a community who, throughout a period of life for our country and the world of darkness and despair, that we brought hope and life and love. So get on the road, not physically, and start sharing the good news. Hello everybody and welcome to G2 City. I guess that the two needs a bit of work here, but you get the picture.
Follow the rules, save lives, friends.
Stay home, save lives. The irony of this talk is that the opposite message is being
Or
raised.
get on the road and save souls.
Whoa.